Good morning, everyone. Thought it was time for a mid-garden check-in. So it's Jennifer here from Yellow Brick Road Farm. And as you remember, during the beginning of the quarantine, we did a series of videos. Those videos were to start beginning gardening, family gardening, anybody who wanted to, kids in the garden, anybody who wanted to get started growing their own food. So I'm very pleased to say that our garden has done very, very well this year, and I thought we'd do a little tour, just a mid-garden check-in, and it's time to reap the rewards of all that hard work that you've done. So it's getting close to harvest time. There'll be a few things that won't be ready, but we'll talk about that. Anyway, it's Jennifer from Yellow Brick Road Farm, and join me in the garden. Not weeded. I have not done a lot of weeding right at the moment, so we are just going to go row by row and talk about what's going on. So don't worry about, this is the time of year that we technically lose it in terms of weeding. So starting with the herb garden, we have some fennel, and this will be what's called fennel seed, and we use that in preserving. So that has gone to seed, and I will be using that in some dill pickles, crock pickles, things like that. You can also harvest the bulb down there. I've started that this year, so that's new. The rosemary didn't go very well at all, so that was a fail this year. I will work on that for next year. These are chrysanthemums. I've planted lots of plants, flowers throughout the garden, and you will see that they pop up randomly. That's because I have chickens, and they will scratch around, especially when the garden was first planted and they got in the garden and scratched around before I could shoo them out. They're pretty good now. They're trained. I've got the fence. They very rarely get in here and scratch around. There's very little room to scratch around, thank goodness. But have no fear. If they could get in here, they would clean this garden probably in a day flat. So it's very important I stay on top of that. So random pepper plant. I have, if I had extra transplants, rather than waste them, I planted them wherever they could go, wherever I had a spare spot. So we have chives. I've been drying the chives and dehydrating them, making sure that I have using lots of fresh with our new potatoes and sour cream to die for, and then dehydrating the rest and putting them into jars to save for the winter so that we can add dried chives to a lot of our dishes. So I've reseeded. This was full of lettuce. We ate off of that for about 4 months. It was insane. And as you can see, I have reseeded this, and it is now coming up again for another harvest. And I will keep reseeding this all winter. It is a cold frame, so it has this. I may replace this with some windows later for greater greater barrier against the snow, because I found that the plastic got really heavy with rain. Not that we've had much of it, but things like that. Let's go back down this row. Luke, you're stepping on the celery. There. So this is pink celery, and we've got cats going in the garden, which they are loving that right now. I don't plant catnip. I don't really need to. They seem to love everything. But they like playing in amongst the taller plants, and there you go. Very cute. So right here we have pink celery, which is growing very, very well. This was a Baker's Creek seed, and that is coming on very good. I'm hoping that that will be ready to harvest by September, and I will be able to get that into some dehydrate it, put it into some jars, and freeze it as well. So down here we have some cabbages. Now these cabbages have been a labor of love this year. We had a big invasion of cabbage moss, and that was fine. They did come out on the other side of it. I did take some of the transplants, thinned them, moved them over there. I want to see where the cabbage does well at. So you can see I've laid down some straw, some of my weedier areas, like I mentioned. You have to stay on top of the weeding. I haven't been. I just usually lay it on top of the cardboard and then either take it to the sheep or the pigs and let them go at it. We have beets. This is my thinned beets. I thinned the beets, retransplanted them. So you can see this whole row is beets. But I've stuck some lettuce. You'll see anywhere that I've got a spare spot, I will stick some transplants, stick some lettuce. You can grow all of those in amongst that. This was Chinese broccoli, and it went right to seed. I did not, but I've kept it around just because I love the look of the flowers. And I'm going to harvest this seed and try it again next year. Everything's going to get a second chance. The kitten just tried to grab a bee. I'm just looking how that's going to go. But anyway, so once this goes to seed, I'm going to harvest the seed. I'm going to try it again next year. I'm going to put it somewhere cooler. It obviously didn't do well here in full sun. So I'm going to try it over by the trees, see how that goes, and see if I can do that. So to harvest the seed, I'm going to wait until the flowers fall off, and you can see they have gone into a little seed pod. I'm going to put those in a paper bag and close it off, let them dry, and then give it a good shake and take the seeds and save them for next year. I did do another planting of it to see if it likes some cooler weather, but that went right to seed as well. So I didn't do well with the Chinese broccoli this year. It has been exceptionally hot, but that's the way it goes. So I've also interplanted, you'll see some tatsoi there. I had some problems with cabbage moth on that as well. I sprinkled diatomaceous earth on it. So it doesn't hurt it. We've still been eating it. I've been putting it in the greens, but it didn't certainly do what I thought it was going to do. So right here we have, oh my goodness, so many sweet peas, so many sweet peas. These are a flower, and I just did one row along the back of those. I had done the whole fence worth, but you'll see where our miniature horses are in their paddock. And to be honest, they cleaned every single sweet pea that I planted and every single sunflower. So that was a fail for that location. However, I will try again next year. We're going to be putting up some fence posts. You remember we were in the middle of farm renovations this year. So I know now. I learned that lesson, right? Keep calm and garden on. Thank you, Chrissy. My gift. We have snow peas, sugar snap peas, Oregon sugar snap peas. Once again, I am going to wait until these flowers die off. You'll see that they form these seed pods. I will wait till they dry. I will break them open. I will save a lot of that seed to get these beautiful flowers again next year, and be able to save those and save myself some money. And not only that, I know that they grow well here, and I know they're beautiful. So that is what I want. I want to keep the ones that are growing very, very well here. So I had a number, and the same thing is what I'm doing with my peas. So you can see I've harvested peas for days and days and days, and I have let them go to seed now, and I'm going to take those off, dry them, harvest them, and give them for next year to save some seed. But I still have quite a bit coming on of the snow peas. Now I've blanched those for 30 seconds, and then I put them in the freezer on a single sheet pan, and I think I have a video somewhere on those. If not, I'll upload it. And they are fantastic, blanched and froze. They're also fantastic right out of the garden. Unreal. The taste is amazing. Okay, so this was all peas. The spent ones I'm going to haul out. I'm going to replant, because you can do winter peas. You can do peas right into the fall. They like the cold, but you got to do them now. You got to plant them now, because once the cold starts, the vegetables will start slowing down. They'll start to go into like a hibernation almost. So you want to get the bulk of your growing done now. They'll still grow, but they won't grow as fast. So you want to get them germinated and into the ground now and get going. Delicious. Right in the garden. So right here, Luke, I'm going to show my zinnias. Well, we have 2 huge rows of zinnias. I would have planted 1,000 of those. They have been very, very beautiful addition to the garden. I love them. I have no idea what these are. I'm such a bad gardener sometimes. I get planting and forget. I'm assuming there's some kind of marigold, not sure. I'm gonna wait and see what they are. I did plant a bee lovers seed packet, so I will just be surprised, I guess, by some of these flowers. So, and I probably could have moved those out of the way of the walkway, but it didn't matter. All right, so we'll go down the path. So here we have the carrots. We've been eating off these carrots since June. They have been very, very, very prolific, and I've been very, very pleased with the varieties that we picked this year. The only thing I wish I had done was more storage carrots. I haven't got enough of those, but I will do up these ones in a blanched and frozen or canned, and that will be fine. I just wanted to do some storage ones to keep in cold storage in dirt so that I could have fresh carrots, but I will leave probably a lot of these right in the ground. So, oh, I just love it when that happens. Oh, dear. Yeah. So, let's see. Get one of these. There. Yeah. So that's a lovely, nice carrot. That is a Chardonnay, and we have had a beautiful harvest of those, and I've replanted those again in 3 different places. So I'm just gonna set that there for now. There, and of course we're gonna throw the greens to the miniatures, and nothing goes to waste. I've replanted beets here. I've replanted golden beets, Detroit beets. Yep. So step over here, honey. Planted those. I've replanted beets as well. Here, this is the last of our golden beets. I've been harvesting off those since early June. They have been fantastic, very prolific as well. Again, borage. I say it with a little French, I guess. Is very, I want to say wild in my garden. It goes wherever it likes, and I just let it grow. So I don't worry too much about that. They love their they love their carrot tops. We have kale right here, second sowing of kale, but kale has been the star of the garden, I'm gonna say, this year. And of course marigolds in amongst those. Kale has been amazing this year. It has just given and given and given, and I am not a kale lover. I will confess I am not. But I'll tell you, it has been a wonderful star this year. I don't know whether it's this variety I grew or what, but it is definitely been a wonderful addition to the garden. And I think the key is removing the stems when you're harvesting it, so that you actually just get the curly leaves. I think that was what I was missing a little tip of before. Anyway, so right here we have onions. Luke has planted many onions. And they have been growing wonderfully. He clumped them up a little too much, so we had to thin them out, but live and learn. And we've replanted a number of onions as well, so those will go. I don't think I planted near enough onions. I really wanted to have at least bank on through the winter having enough onions for roughly 2 onions a day. I don't think I planted enough, so that's something that I will work on for next year, although we have been using them out of the garden easily since June. So anyway, that has been lovely as well. So giant sunflower, the only one that survived, and it didn't anymore. They took that down the other day. Unfortunately, they got through the fence there. Anyway, we'll fix that up for next year. So zucchini. Zucchini is the gift that keeps on giving as well. In this garden, I planted a number of these plants, but had to replant them like 3 times. I don't know if I had ants, what was going on, but I did not have a good experience with the first ones. So you can see I've got a number of zucchini left on. I won't let them get too much bigger than that. Sometimes you forget and you get the big ones, and those are fine. I've already put up probably a number of bags of shredded zucchini and we've made zucchini bread. I've made zucchini relish, and I have been able to put up a number of bags of shredded zucchini. You don't need to blanch that. You can just shred it and put it right in the freezer. Yeah, so that's sort of this area, and I've got, of course, another late zucchini plant coming on. You can see the borage. Look at that, the bee. They have just been wonderful bee pollinators, and I love that they're near the zucchini. I am going to move these this year. I will move these over to the edge of the garden, and then we'll see what pops up. So, speaking of what's popping up, look at these ground cherries. So, ground cherries are here. So ground cherries, that husk will turn a papery yellow. And once it turns a papery yellow, it will fall off, and you can harvest the ground. You can harvest the ground cherry out of that. And those are volunteers. I get those every year. They pop up. You can see that they actually pop up where I don't want them sometimes, so I will weed them out. I don't feed those to anything. They are part of the nightshade family, so I tend to just get rid of them, either in the compost bin, and get rid of those. We have calendula here, some more flowers. Calendula, and I will dry that and save that. I did plant a whole row of calendula. You can see that it's scattered throughout. I've got it all over the garden. Anyway, and that is how that has gone. So this was my trial patch. I want to see how the cabbage would grow over here and the squash. So I planted one of each sort of variety and stuck them over here so that I could see how they did over in this shaded sort of area of the woods. This is going to be our mushroom patch. I'm going to inoculate some oak pieces of wood, and I've been learning about growing mushrooms, eating mushrooms, edible mushrooms, not anything dodgy. So that is going to be where I'm going to take out that chicken wire and going to make a section over there for growing mushrooms for next year. So that's kind of fun. I've got, of course, potatoes. We've been eating off the potatoes for, oh my goodness, since June. It has been wonderful, a great year for potatoes, and I still have quite a few in the ground. I'm going to get on that in a bit. You can see the plants are starting to turn yellow and turn. I've reseeded all this with beans. So anytime I've got some spare area, we have cleared this out from potatoes. I've hauled those, and I've stuck some more seeds in the ground. So I want to make sure that that garden is still producing right into fall so that I have a 3-season garden. These are parsnips, this whole row here. I'm going to leave those right in the ground until the frost. We have red onions, and we're getting into a wild area in the garden that's not very weeded, and that's okay. I only had so much time this year, and we did farm renovations, so that is part of that. These are red onions, and they have done very, very well. As you can see, this one's out of the ground, so I will show you that. And that isn't as big as they will get. And with the recall on onions lately, I'm really, really glad that our onions did really well this year. There's been a recall on onions with salmonella. So if you buy commercial onions from the store, I would encourage you to find a farmer that grows them so that you can get them fresh from the farmer in Canada or Nova Scotia preferably, because there has been a recall on red onions and yellow onions and white onions, I believe. All right, so potatoes getting ready to go. This area here, we have some purple potatoes, rhubarb over there, and that has been transplanted this year, so that is just sort of taking hold. I think it's going to do very well over there. I put some wood ash in with it. It's been lovely. All right, so this I've replanted with cabbage and a random tomato plant that popped up. We'll wait and see what that produces. I believe it looks like it's going to be a cherry tomato. I have tomato plants, and I'm not joking, everybody. I have tomato plants everywhere because they did so well with the transplanting this year and the seeds that I did inside, and I hate wasting them. I gave them to everyone who came to the farm, but I simply still had tons, and I cannot waste them. I planted them wherever I could plant them and let them grow. And sometimes that's a good experiment as well, so that you can see what grows well where. So yellow beans, I don't know if you've seen my post about the slug problem I had over here, mostly probably because of this bank of wetness and sort of shade over here. This tree is going to come down next year, and that will free up a little bit of the shade in the garden and allow me to have a little more space. So we have some yellow beans here, we have some green beans, so these, but I had some slug problems earlier on, so these have been replanted twice. What I did was I actually sunk a container in the ground and filled it with beer, and I was able to trap a ton of slugs that way. So they die happy, and I'm happy too. So slug lovers, look away. So there's one right there, leaving a trail of gooey goodness, and I will go feed that to the ducks in a minute. So I'm always trying to make sure that all of the pests are out of the garden, and there is no other cure for that besides being in there and so this section, oh my goodness, you guys, if I have one, I have 100. This section of sort of took over and has done very, very well. And I want to say that this has not been a surprise to me. This area was what I had hoped it would be. This has been the area where I had the rabbit cage. So you can see the size of these squash, guys. These are butternut squash, and I'm not joking, about 100 squash on. So everyone that knows me will probably be getting a squash at some point. So be happy or be scared, I'm not sure. So along the fence line, Luke can show, we have scarlet runners. Yep. So I just stuck those in a bank over there, and they've done very well. And Mom and I were looking up what to do with scarlet runners, because to be honest, I've only ever really grown them for the flowers, but I really love the fact that I can use the beans. So guys, temporary hoop house has done very, very well. As you can see, look at the tomato plants. They are about 6 feet tall, no joke, and they are just dripping with tomatoes, as Luke can show you over there. They are just dripping with tomato and fruit. Oops, sorry about that. And I have some black beauties here. Okay, this got a little out of hand. So this is 2-packed, okay? So this was a lesson for me. I really, really love indeterminate tomatoes, but I always forget how crazy they go. And this was obviously not how packed I planned to have it, because I can barely get in there. I still have a path down the middle. But yeah, but they're starting to turn red. I'm excited about that. I'm gonna pick this one here, so you can see it's starting to turn red. I'm gonna bring that in the house and let that ripen up in the house. And I have been definitely diligent in here about making sure that it has lots of water, because it has been really, really warm in there. So making sure that we have that evaporation going as well. So another row of green beans along this fence right here, and dragon tongue beans and yellow beans. So that goes the whole way down. You can see my fence post is starting to fall over. I have to get in there. As I mentioned, I stuck tomato plants everywhere. Guys, look at this. Like, I cannot even, it is like crazy how well tomatoes did this year. So we're gonna walk through this little itty bitty path that I have here. And my grandson Owen planted some potato plants randomly as well. So that's kind of fun. I'm going to end up having some random plants there. As you can see, they're doing well. They're coming right out of the ground. I planted these indeterminate, watch it. Yep. These indeterminate tomatoes outside just because I had extras. I really wanted to see what the difference was going to be between planting them inside and outside of the, oh good Lord, of the hoop house, temporary hoop house. So I can see now that the temporary hoop house has been a godsend, but it has been, yeah, I know, but it has been very good for keeping the water off of the overhead water off of the tomatoes. And these ones have not done as well. Even though they look good, I think that we're going to have more disease and blossom end rot. Just my guess on that. So cucumbers, replanted twice, lost one set to frost, lost another set, I think, to ants, sprinkled with diatomaceous earth, and definitely had much better success this time, obviously. So I have planted many varieties here. I've planted Marketmore. I've planted a Japanese variety that is long and thin. I have planted a number Slice Master. I have planted a lemon cucumber as well. I was going to do those in containers, got distracted, ended up throwing them in here. So as you can see, lots of bees. I got lots of pollinators. I have left this area a little wild, I'll be honest, but oh, look at this. So I have in here, look, there is right in this little section alone, there's 6-7 cucumbers. I'm not going to let them get too much bigger than this because then they get seedy, and that is sort of not what I want. So, and that, guys, I think is pretty much everything this year besides some more herbs over there. So I have really packed this garden full, and I have been harvesting off this garden for, well, you know, from the spring with lettuce and greens. And I just want to say, I hope that you have been having an excellent garden season as well. And I would like to, and I just want to say that I hope you've been having a wonderful garden season as well. I have definitely enjoyed this refuge in the middle of COVID and everything that has been going on with quarantining and children being home. I've really enjoyed having my children in the garden with me and enjoying the harvest with me inside and going through what's growing, what's coming up. It has been a blessing, and I really am pleased with how everything has gone this year in the garden. I hope that you are safe and well, and if you have any garden questions, shoot them to me. I'd be happy to help if I can, and if not, I might be able to steer you in the right direction. Once again, thank you for the feedback on the garden videos this spring. I'm getting so many pictures of people's harvests saying that they watched the videos and they were helpful. I'm very pleased to have been able to put some light into the spring and help things along. So anyway, take care everyone, and garden on.